Hello everybody, welcome back to WashingCon 2018. I'm Greg, this is Lesley, and we are joined right now by Dave Chalker. Thank you, Dave, for sitting down with us.
Sure. Thanks for having me.
Of course. Dave is a longtime friend of the podcast. We've talked to him before, we've played some of his games on streams, but we haven't done a Jenga interview with him before. So this is our patented, not actually patented Jenga interview. We've got 3 different colors of blocks. We've got blue, which is questions about his games, red, which are questions about sort of his work in the game design industry, and then green, which are whatever the hell we want. So, you ready to get started?
Yeah.
Let's do it. We'll give you the first push.
Oh boy. All right. So I got to do the classic thing of seeing where the...
Yep. Yeah, we're very relaxed with the rules. Just
I'm not.
Don't stabilize the tower as you're pushing, and I think we're fine.
Seems like a good one to start on.
All right, so I'm actually going to toss this one over to Lesley because I know one of the biggest things you're excited about right now is the Sentinels of the Multiverse RPG. So, what do you got?
Oh gosh, you always take the first question.
I'm putting you on the spot.
I am very excited about the Sentinels RPG. So why don't you give us a quick overview of the base rule system and all that?
Sure. So obviously you're familiar with Sentinels of the Multiverse, the card game series.
Yes, and hopefully our podcast listeners are too, because we talk about it a lot.
A lot.
But of course, it's a cooperative superhero game, and part of what attracted me to it in the first place is because it does have this elaborate backstory to it, and like all these decades of imaginary comics that don't really exist, but they do exist kind of in their brains as like a whole continuity and everything. And so
They have issue numbers.
yeah, like everything is numbered, and yeah, exactly. And whenever we need to pull something, they are like, well, that's issue 17 of Freedom 5, you know.
Problem solved.
Yeah. So we approached them, my Critical Hits Studios, approached them about doing an RPG years ago, and we were finally starting to have products out, so you can actually play the game now, and we're coming up on that. But we really wanted kind of a superhero game that, if you were a fan of the card game, if you're not necessarily a role player, although also if you're still a superhero RPG fan, that's, you know, would be familiar to you. But if you just, you know, were not really experienced in the world of role playing, you'd be able to take some of those same concepts for the card game and put them into an RPG. So we really wanted to incorporate teamwork as a big one. You know, it's not really a game that supports a lot of like infighting, player versus player kind of stuff, because it's not
evil alignment.
Yeah, exactly. It's not really geared towards that. It's towards, you know, you're a team of heroes and you're fighting against all odds against a GM. And we also want to incorporate some of the kind of core concepts of Sentinels of the Multiverse. So there's actually environments like the card game play a big part in the RPG, and they're almost kind of their own character. They have their own rules and things that go off, and they're not quite on the player side, not quite on the GM side. You know, it can kind of go either way.
It's exciting.
And villains and like hordes of just, you know, minion bad guys that you can just bowl over, and just making these heroes feel like, you know, they would feel in the Sentinels card game, you know, but just you directing what they're doing, but also be able to make your own heroes who would fit in with those style of heroes.
Because some of us haven't already done that. I don't know if you have. You just seem like the type of person who would have already created your own superhero alter ego for the Sentinels universe.
I may have had a superhero alter ego when I was like 11.
Close enough.
But I play a lot of Tachyon and Skyscraper and Wraith. It's kind of my happy place.
Yep. Both Wraith and Tachyon are in our first starter kit, which is out now. So you can just pick those up and go.
There we go. It sells itself.
Yeah.
All right. Are we going to you, or are we going counterclockwise? All right. Let's go. No, not that. Nope.
Then why did
nope.
Red hate you?
Okay, here we go. All right. So you have a fair amount of experience in game design. You know, you've been designing board games for a while. You've been doing RPGs as well, intermittently. In your experience, how have you found the publishing aspects of those things to be different? So with an RPG and sort of a system, I guess, that you're expected to support versus maybe a game that's more of a one-off.
So for somebody like me who's a freelancer, generally with board games, like board games are kind of built on freelancers. So you come up with a game, you test the heck out of it, you bring it to publishers that you think might be a good fit, and that's kind of how that gets made.
Right.
But that almost never happens with role-playing games. I mean, we did approach the Greater Than Games folks about doing an RPG for them, but that's not something that happens very often where you can like, oh, I have an RPG, will you publish this? It just happened to be because it's there.
I almost did that last time.
Yeah, let's so, because it's their property, it's not like we can make our own.
Right. You'd get into legal trouble with
Yeah,
that.
but like, we can't make our own like branded Disney RPGs, for instance. Just put it out there. You have
Princess, the RPG.
Yeah, I would play that. But yeah.
I would definitely play that.
But ultimately, it's something where either you're working with their properties and it's something that they're into, or they reach out to you. You come to a partnership versus like, I have this thing already done. Do you want to publish it? Kind of scenario.
Sure. Just a bit of a different relationship.
Yeah, exactly. And there are definitely different levels of support where a board game, there's kind of like giant releases of put the game out, and then maybe you get to do expansions that are kind of an occasionally spread out thing, whereas RPGs, are always kind of hungry for some kind of updates, like more characters, more adventures, flat books, all that good stuff, yeah. So it's kind of a different model in that way too, especially like on the financial back ends, so works differently along those lines.
Right.
All right.
You're up next. All right, right at the bottom.
So, random question, but somewhat related. What is your favorite superpower, and why?
Favorite superpower?
Yes.
I haven't thought about that one much.
It's a surprise, actually, yeah.
I feel like the most on-brand thing would be like probability manipulation, but like one of those crazy like domino level ones where it's you're walking down the street and suddenly like a wallet falls out of the sky full of money kind of thing, and you dodge things just by things going your way, not necessarily good reflexes.
Almost luck.
The luck
yeah,
power.
Super luck power, exactly.
Right.
But then the downside is like I'd never be able to play a game involving luck ever again because nobody would want to play with me.
Right. You could play with people once,
Yeah.
and then maybe twice.
I could go to casino once. And then
Each casino once.
I could go to each casino once. So,
Yeah.
There we
I think
go.
you can get pretty far, though. There's a lot of casinos.
it's true. Although I think they might share information. We'll see if my power can overcome the leg breakers that will come after me pretty quickly.
That's a good answer. I hadn't thought about the luck power.
Yeah, that's a good one. Everything goes your way.
Yeah.
Except when it doesn't.
Your luck runs out.
Not now.
All right, where are we
I mean,
going?
this is pure skill, right? There's no luck involved.
All right. So in addition to RPGs, which we've talked about, we have mentioned that you've designed board games as well, and a lot of your board games are fairly disparate. You work in a lot of different arenas. You've got Thieves Market, which is very dice-based. You've got something like Heat, which is much more card-based. And some people have a wheelhouse, and I wouldn't say that that's the case for you. Is that a conscious decision? Do you like to sort of push the envelope and move into different mechanical spaces? Or is it kind of just seeing where each game takes you?
Yeah, it tends to be, there are different areas you can kind of start a game design, and mostly they just, have taken me in those different directions. Some of them, may have started with dice and then don't have dice by the end, or vice versa, and just depending on how the whole playtesting cycle goes, have a different kind of feel by the end. Really, I know there are styles that are not me. Like I don't play a lot of. I'll play them. I'm fine with them, but I don't have the precise mathematical engineering brain for a lot of the like Euro games.
Sure.
This becomes this, and I haven't asked to like design those, and I come up with something approximating it, and then it just ends up being like another like 30 to 45 minutes.
Sure, it gets tweaked along the way.
Yeah,
and
it just kind of goes towards something that I personally want to play.
Right.
From there. Yeah, and I don't play a lot of long games, so a lot of the stuff becomes kind of shorter. I definitely don't play any like war games or stuff with like a heavy take that feel bad elements as much as I can restrict it. So I'm just naturally not going to gravitate towards that, but I think that still leaves a lot of space to try different things.
That makes sense.
Cool.
All right, I'll take these red ones off the table so you don't have to worry about them. No.
Say you're gonna go to the bottom already.
It's already leaning back towards me.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're a freelancer. You do a lot of game design and shop it around to different publishers. I imagine that there's lots of people out there who are sort of in the same boat. They have a game design that they are really passionate about, that they have put a lot of time and effort into. Do you have any insight or advice for people who are looking to kind of break into that? How to talk to a publisher, or things that they can do to make their pitch more effective?
Yeah. So the biggest thing is attending conventions is so awesome. Especially we're at WashingCon. WashingCon has an unpub area for unpublished games.
Yes, definitely.
So something like that I think is always a great move because you get face time with just people to play your game, other game designers, and publishers are looking at that kind of thing. Unpub also has larger events. They have their prime events in Baltimore every year. That's got tons of them, but all these are just ways of like getting yourself out there, showing people what your games are, making contacts. And it can take a while, to kind of establish those relationships. But generally, game designers are pretty happy to share that kind of thing because we're not really in competition in that way, right?
Like, the market's open enough, and there's always enough niches.
Exactly. And again, someone else can design all those war games, and I'll design my weird thief shark games.
All right, there you go.
And everything will be fine. Those aren't in competition at all. But just networking, those kind of things, and also I think doing your research is super important. If you're going to a convention with a publisher, you're trying to set something up, make sure you know their other games. You don't have to have played everything, but just know what kind of style, so you're not like taking like a collectible card game to somebody who does like random family games or something. You want to like at least cover that. Also make sure that you're ready to answer questions like, are there other games that are kind of in this space of the thing you're working on, and just kind of generally be prepared for this. Think of it, it's almost like a job interview in a way.
Right, absolutely, I imagine.
Just, you don't have to wear a suit and tie, unfortunately, but just kind of like grounding yourself in what you might encounter is always a good idea.
Well, great, thank you very much.
Cool.
You're up. Oh, back to the wilds?
Well.
Oh, you don't want that one.
Looks like it's blue for me. No, stay.
Good enough.
I got it.
We'll allow it.
There's a minimal amount of cheating, that's all.
There's
all in good fun.
Dragon's Demize rules.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Which means they're wrong. Is that what it is?
No.
It frequently
They're,
does.
flexible. It's Jenga.
Right, who cares?
So I have not, unfortunately, gotten to play your other games, and I'm really excited about Sentinels, obviously. Is there a particular thing that inspired you to move forward to try to write the Sentinels game? What about it made you feel like there was really an RPG there, something beyond the card game?
Yeah, a few things. First of all, I worked on the Marvel Heroic RPG years ago, so I was already like doing licensed superhero stuff, and so the other members of my Critical Hits team who have done a lot of the design, Film and Art, and Cam Banks also were, Cam Banks was basically the inventor of Marvel and pulled him into this, and Phil worked closely with me on Marvel as well. So we were already kind of in that headspace, but we couldn't do anything more with Marvel. And at the same time, I'm actually very picky about the cooperative games that I like. There's a lot of them that just kind of don't do it for me. But Sentinels was really one where I felt like I was embodying a superhero, and like every deck felt unique, and the way things work together really spoke to me in that way. And so I like, oh, I really like these characters.
Yeah.
This is even before like the letters page existed, or a lot of the like continuity stuff was as accessible as it is now. I was just like, I really like these characters, so I think it would translate well to an RPG, you know, that would kind of bridge the gap between these two. And as I said, it's also really cool to be able to design something that, you know, people who haven't role-played before, maybe have just experience with like just D&D or something, and exposing them to, you know, some other pretty easy to pick up and play super system.
Sure.
And you know, we like to say that like there really is a lot of really good superhero RPGs out there, but they're different styles, right? People want different things out of them. Some people do want heavier, can do anything kinds of systems, and those are fine. You know, that those exist for those styles, but we wanted to serve kind of another niche for like very easy to pick up and go kind of game.
That kind of also goes with the card game too, because so many of the rules are straight up on the cards. Right? So you don't play, power, draw, go, and you can kind of play that game.
And we really wanted to put as much as possible onto the character sheet, so you're not having to reference things in the rule book. You can just look at, here's my character and here's what I can do.
Yeah, and that's great.
And still leave room for, you know, whatever creativity you want, but also just like if you need guidance, like here are some things that you do all the time that if you want to do them, they're right here.
Cool.
Okay.
That's all you need.
You're up.
All right.
Do you want to do this one? I had two in a row before. Oh no, you don't like red. Okay.
I don't like red.
All right. I'll go with it. So you mentioned a little bit about you know, the network of game designers and sort of plugging into that and networking and playtesting each other's games and things like that. Do you find that you have an established community here in the DC area, or do you kind of almost flit around between multiple?
A little of both. I'm very fortunate in that I have a game group near where I live that has a weekly game night where I can show up with whatever piece of garbage board game prototype and be like, we're going to play this tonight. They're like, okay, sure. But you know, we're at least operating on the same level of like, we're not there to win the game, right? Like, it's a different motivation. We're there to make a good game.
Right.
And so if we need to like change a rule on the fly, even if it like hurts somebody's score, that's fine, right? If we need to go 2 turns in and be like, that's not working at all, we need to restart from the beginning by doing something else, they're going to be fine with that. If I don't have like a way that the game ends yet, we can just say, we're going to play this until it's not fun anymore, and then we just mutually decide it's
the flexibility, like it.
Yeah, so that's good, but at the same time, you know, going to conventions further out than where I live, you know, that have kind of a wider network and, you know, social media, Twitter and stuff, being able to touch base with designers there always helps to, like, if I have something that's more industry focused, like if I need to say, you know, what this publisher is looking for, have you worked with these people before, you know, should I be asking for something specific, what were your experiences with X? It's a larger network. And as I said, like, I like to think we're generally pretty free with this kind of information, so even if, you know, I'll even put this out there, if you're a beginning designer and you have any questions for me, you know, feel free to shoot me an email, shoot me a tweet. I try to make my contact info out there, and I try to be as transparent as I can about the stuff that I know.
Sure. That's great. And
of course, there's the stuff you can put publicly online, and the stuff, like if you ask me personally, there might be slightly different answers.
Right.
For, you know, how this kind of thing works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Totally understandable.
Go for it.
Okay, yeah, that's looking like the one.
Some days I wonder why we've done this to ourselves.
Because it's fun.
It is fun.
And stressful, which, you know, we do to ourselves a lot.
Stress fun.
So, I'm gonna pose a little bit of a selfish question because this is a game that I really love. But you have a game that you're prototyping right now called Cook-Off.
Yes.
And we had a chance to play this on stream at International Tabletop Day at Labyrinth here in DC, and it was a blast. It is, so for those of you who didn't watch the video, it is a sort of real-time, reflex-based cooking competition game. You're a contestant on a cooking show, and you're trying to assemble dishes. So maybe you'll start with a rice dish, or maybe you've got you have to prepare some sort of like heavy protein, like a steak or something, and you're trying to go through cards and grab the right protein and grab the right grain in real time. So I guess my question for you: do you watch a lot of Chopped?
Yes.
Okay.
The inspiration was originally Cutthroat Kitchen.
Okay.
Which isn't on the air anymore, but it has these like ridiculous sabotages. So like there'd be episodes where somebody would just have to cook in a suit of armor,
Yeah.
or like they had spatulas taped to their hands for the whole time, or couldn't use salt or whatever. And I was like, okay, this is a game. But it's, I watch Chopped and Iron Chef and a bunch of other shows.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it kind of takes elements from all of those to kind of be, as the game needs to be more of a game and less of a TV show, especially for people who aren't actually chefs in real life.
Right.
It's kind of evolved into its own thing.
So did you play around early on? Did you play around with having like challenges and having handicaps for people? Because that wasn't something that we played with.
Yeah, so that's actually, it's kind of an optional component right now, because some people, like it's both catch-up mechanism and sort of take thatty, but not, like it's still always something you can overcome.
Okay.
Ketchup or ketchup?
Yes. So there are things in the deck. So the base way it works is that if everyone agrees to use the challenges, you go to whoever has the least points, and they get the first chance to select one of those sabotages, or you can pass and just take some points if you really don't want to be mean, and then everyone gets a chance to make those kinds of decisions. But if you're the furthest behind, you can give the nastier stuff away to other people first who are ahead in the game. So
Right.
it does kind of act like a catch-up mechanism.
Interesting.
And there are things, they vary. There are things that are like in the fiction from like, okay, you can't use salt, so you can't use any seasoning ingredients in your dish, and that's like more purely in the gameplay, of how that works. Or all of your sweet things have been replaced with old candy, so any sweet ingredients you use are -1 point
Okay.
instead of the normal score, that kind of thing. But there's also things that affect you in real life, where like you might sabotage us, where before we can roll our dice, we have to high five every time.
Oh wow.
Or if you are playing at home and have access to a kitchen, you have to roll your dice using a spatula.
I like this a
I see
lot.
Board Game Bistro in our
Yes,
future.
I also very much see that. So we'll be in touch.
One of the ones that was earlier was one person can only use ingredients that start with the letters A through M, and the other person N through Z. So your pool of ingredients is cut in half as far as
That's pretty dramatic.
Yeah. So as I said, it's not like core to the game depending on what your play experience is. There's also a part of it where after you've made your dish, you have to present it to the other players and vote.
Right, yes.
Some people want to play more the like pure strategy game thing, but that kind of adds this extra level of like storytelling,
Right, absolutely.
snake oil selling kind of thing. So if you wanted to play with that as well, that's also an optional thing. You could also, one of my favorite things is just have people who aren't playing come and listen to the pitches, because all they need to hear is like, here's some food we made, and then they can vote without knowing any of the other rules.
Right.
And so that's something that I really love, in the game, that like anyone can participate on whatever level.
All right, well, I think we've got time for one more quick question. Leslie, you are the last to go. Do you want to do the honors of knocking over the tower?
Oh, I've never knocked it over before.
Oh, well then, yeah, there we go.
Oh,
You should have gone lower down.
I should have. I thought this was going to knock it over.
I mean, you can also just...
So our token random green question on Dragon's Demise. What is your favorite donut?
Oh, my favorite donut. I really like blueberry glaze, but I don't get the chance very often, but the places that have the ridiculous, like, 4 layers plus candy plus cereal plus marshmallow,
Yes.
I'm all about super ridiculous.
Have you been to Sugar Shack in Alexandria?
No, I haven't been to Sugar
I
Shack.
highly recommend it.
Yeah.
Particularly if you like those ridiculous, crazy. Yep.
All right, here we go.
Oh.
Oh, no, you're too good. You're too good. All right.
Too good.
At a certain point,
No.
oh,
There we go.
yay, Jenga.
I was trying to get them all on the table.
Well, almost, most of them. Well, there we go. Thank you, Dave Chalker, so much for joining us here for our Jenga interview at WashingCon 2018. We look forward very much to catching up with you again in the future. We will also be excited to play the Sentinels RPG. So
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
I'm excited to play Cook-Off.
yes, it's super good.
Yeah, awesome.
There we go. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and stay tuned for our other videos from WashingCon 2018.